All right, here we go. We are live. That's right, live. Sportskeeda Wrestling on YouTube, on Facebook. A lot of news to get into, but do what the screen tells you to do. Yes, follow your applications. Subscribe to Sportskeeda Wrestling on YouTube, on Twitter, and on the Instagram. If you're with us live, go ahead and share the link. Get in the comments below. A lot to talk about today as AEW is confirming they are back on the road. Jose G is with me. I'm Kev Kellam. Let's get us back here on screen. Jose, we're talking about live wrestling coming back. We've been talking about this for weeks and weeks and weeks. We got WrestleMania live in front of fans. All right. You were there. It was something special.
It was.
And AEW has been in front of fans for almost the entire pandemic, for the most part, for a majority of it. But in the limited, scaled down, super away from the ring, some people are tested. Some it's the same. It's sort of the same, but it's not the same. And they've started to wear out Jacksonville a little bit, even though it's their home base. But AEW back on the road. Do you have the details there? Let's see what we got here from Tony Kahn.
Yeah, man. So it broke earlier this morning where President Tony Kahn put out a press release about live events returning on the road, particularly starting as soon as July. In the press release, it addressed that the live events will be kicking off July 7th in Miami, Florida, at the James L. Knight Center. So that's going to be going down there. Not only that show down in Miami, but we also got a show down in Cedar Park, Texas at the HEB Center. That's going to be going down on July 14th in Austin. And then we also got a Dallas show coming up on July 21st. That's going to be going down at the Curtis Colwell Center in Garland, Texas. So they got the early half of July completely booked. In the statement, Tony Kahn did read about and told about what's going on with the live event. And he said, quote, looking ahead, we're thrilled to welcome our fans back to become part of the action in Miami, Austin, and in Dallas. Kahn said, we've missed touring cities, meeting the fans, and hearing their roar during our live shows. Please be assured we are working closely with the venues to comply with state and local regulations in each city. Miami, Austin, and Dallas are the first, as many as we gear up the trucks to travel around the country again, end quote. So it looks like wrestling is back. If you saw this weekend, the Saul Canelo Alvarez fight against Billy Joe Sanders, it was over 73 packed at the AT&T Stadium in Dallas. So Dallas is open. Dallas is ready. And that was a very smart decision, not only to go down to Miami, but to go to Dallas and go to Austin because they're open 100% and they're going to take full advantage of that.
Yeah, and this all started, I mean, I don't want to say it started with WWE running WrestleMania, but you had baseball games, you had some basketball games, very limited audiences, but it's been scaling up. That first major one is WWE with WrestleMania, whether or not anyone else in the sports world wants to say it, but that's true. This is also compounded by other things we're seeing in American culture, at least in the United States right now. To our friends overseas, we don't know if this is exactly the case for you. A couple weeks ago, we had some major rock festivals being postponed, some major rock tours overseas outside of the United States being postponed into 2022. And me talking to people in the entertainment industry, they said that was mainly insurance related. Getting that insurance for major American rock acts, specifically that I'm aware of, overseas is completely different. Ensuring that in tour overseas is a much more challenging thing sometimes than doing it in the United States. And then you have some bands announcing tours today. Rock band Hailstorm and Evanescence announced an arena tour. Limited arena
I haven't
tour,
heard that band name in a long time.
They're still selling records.
Wow.
And then Hailstorm and Evanescence are going to run the same arena that AEW runs, the Sears Center. They're going to run that for a 2-night affair here in just a few weeks outside of Chicago. You add as well other bands announcing tours, some festivals pushing themselves into the September region. So late summer, this is what we've been hearing. Now all of the shoes are starting to drop and wrestling is following suit here. It kind of all makes sense in wrestling and outside of it right now that this is the time frame here. We'll have some news about WWE and SummerSlam. We don't know where it's going to be, but we know when it will be. We'll talk about that here in a few minutes. But AEW, they said they were going to do this. We heard last week. I will be talking to Jim Ross. I'm scheduled for an interview with him tomorrow, so we'll definitely get
I'm pumped about that, man.
We'll get some insight on that, and that'll be coming out this week here. Mark Penrose texting in saying, we have sports and rock concerts in New Zealand, no COVID. That is right, Mark. You guys have been ahead of this for a long, long time. They ran, Australia, a different continent. Sorry. stupid, dumb American. There was rock concerts with Tame Impala in Australia in I believe, February. New Zealand, they've been running major, 40,000 seat rugby matches as well. So congratulations, you guys doing the right thing, getting ahead of this thing. But then we have other regions of the country, like our friends in India, which are dealing with a very, very serious situation here. It's going to vary. I think we're going to deal with this for the next year or so, where it's going to vary in the level of vaccination where you are. It's going to determine it. Then you have areas like Texas and Florida where they say, no, I don't want to say screw it, but they're going to say you're going to do your own thing, and the vaccines are here. You can get them.
That's pretty much like the attitude that both of these states have shown.
I'm not saying I endorse that, nor do our friends at Sportskeeda Wrestling endorse that. But that's the world. That's the world we're living in here. Continue to chime in where we are, where you are, where are live events where you are, and maybe it's just wrestling. Obviously, we're wrestling fans. That's our jumping off point. But where is your local sports team at? Where is your local? Where are you in terms of, hey, I would love if WWE or an AEW show, Ring of Honor, your local independent. I got to work AAW this past Friday, Bourbon Street. We had close to 200 people in there. And they were right on top of each other. I don't know. I mean, I thought we did as good a job as we could, but things got a little bit busy. You got people lined up, and you tell them, you start doing this one. Now people know this motion. You just do this with your face now. And if you have a mask, you just point to your mask, and somebody goes, oh, okay. And there was a really wild tag match that broke out into the crowd. And I at some point it just got into the crowd. It was getting nuts. And some beer bottles are getting smashed and like all this stuff. And I was doing some backstage production, and we kind of had to back people up. And then how do you do it without touching people or anything like that? So you're just trying to be courteous to everyone. And then some people are kind of cool about it. Other people are like, oh, wow, I didn't know this was going to happen. No one really complained. Yeah. They're like, we didn't know anything was going to come out of the ring. We just kind of had our space. But, I think a lot of people are doing what they can here. Golden Blue Dude is texting in saying, I'm excited. Can you tell? Yeah. WWE come to Greenville, South Carolina. What is that? What's that? P. Pablo song? North Carolina.
like a helicopter.
Yeah, there we go. We're listening to songs from college. There we go.
Quick plug-in though, Kevin, because I got to give you a huge props for the debut episode of the Inside Cradle. Great interview with Drew McIntyre. Giving us an exclusive story that nobody else had ever heard before. Great job. You guys can check out that full interview on our YouTube channel. Make sure you subscribe to all of our content for all the up-to-date stuff that we got going on. Great interview. You got Jim Ross coming up this week, right?
We got Jim Ross coming up. We'll have one with Conrad Thompson dropping sometime soon as well.
Great interview.
The Podfather himself. They're doing some big things at over at Ad Free Shows. Yes, people feeling the PD Pablo, so I appreciate that as well. Another notable thing about the Inside Cradle interview we did with Drew McIntyre, that's our new podcast. You guys are enjoying our show on video, so we dropped that as a podcast. So it's now available on Spotify. We just launched an Anchor feed, so you can get it on a handful of different podcast apps. Obviously, most people get Google or Apple. We'll be on those next week. It's kind of like when a video game comes out. You're like, oh, we're on PS4, but we have to wait a little bit longer before we're on this one. Same idea with the podcast apps, but if you want to go stream it, you can do it on Spotify. Go there. Really help us grow. We know your names. I know Nishad Jawad. Nishad Jawad sent me this. Watch. I can reach over. Nishad is in Sugar Hill, Texas. He sent me this stamp set that I told my nephew I won't open until I can open it with him. So Nishad, if you're angry, I haven't opened up this stamp set of WWE people. He sent this to me, which is really cool. So we have a great community of people. We want to hang out with you guys more. We're gonna be doing some really cool stuff in the weeks to come and ahead. We have a lot of different fun things on the channel. Vince Russo Monday nights covering Monday Night Raw. I think he will have a lot to say about tonight's Monday Night Raw, which will have Drew McIntyre versus Bobby Lashley. We're getting a WrestleMania rematch 3 weeks after WrestleMania, so that's going to happen here. Speaking about fans coming back here, Jonathan Diaz with a comment. If you guys are with us live, go and give your comments as well. Jonathan saying, I honestly think the crowd at WrestleMania was kind of dead. There wasn't that pop or excitement for any match, in my opinion. It could be the matches or just the crowd's not really into it. I'm going to disagree with you, Jonathan. It's a dome stadium. It's a non-dome stadium, excuse me. The sound goes straight out. That wasn't 80,000 people. That's 25,000 people. Whether you like it or not, your brain is accustomed to the sound of a full stadium of people. And sometimes an arena sounds much louder than a stadium because it is indoors and the sound stays in. You were there. The sound was that was a loud crowd as far as I could tell.
It was a loud crowd. I was in a perfect spot in the lower 100 areas in Raymond James Stadium, and you can hear everything that was going on, not only on my side, but you can hear the opposite side. You can hear the people in the upper decks. It was a lively crowd. It definitely was a lively crowd.
It was different. You know, I mean, like they felt spread out a little bit. So the sound had a little bit of like just a little bit more space within it. I would say it isn't that full. It's a little bit there. That makes more sense. I didn't use a lot of words. I just made sounds. Anthony Bruno has a comment. He's in Washington, Pennsylvania about live events, live wrestling coming back. He says the teams of Pittsburgh Pirates and Penguins, Pittsburgh Hound Dogs are at 75% capacity. It's pretty full. Washington High School Little Prixies are at 100% full capacity for games. So you have high school kids there. I don't know if you have adults or older people coming out there with autoimmune issues, you know. But you have those towns where they're just like, screw it, man. We don't care. Come on now. You know, like, we got Friday Night Lights out here. We ain't playing football. We ain't playing football. So you're going to have people that deal with this in a different way. How do you think WWE is going to handle this? How do you think AEW is going to handle this? There's going to say there's going to be COVID protocols. There's going to be limited capacity. They're going to follow the guidelines within that certain area, you know, but look at the states they focused on here. This was Florida and Texas, which are getting all of these things here. You're in Florida. You know what it's like. Different culture, different rules. Yeah. The governor, DeSantis in Florida has been, I don't want to say he's been anti-COVID, but he's definitely been very relaxed. Very relaxed would be the safest way of describing it here. Yeah, about it. What do you think here? Are things going to keep going in this direction until maybe the whole world opens up?
I think so. And just to be honest with you, I have a gut feeling. There's nothing confirmed. This is just a Jose G opinion. I have a strong feeling that WWE might go on the road just a little bit earlier than AEW just to spite them. So we might hear an announcement. Hey, listen, craziest stuff has happened, but we might even hear an announcement in the next few weeks at the end of June. WWE resumes touring, and they already have like 3 full booked weeks.
So what are the dates again here for AEW to do this? If we're gonna have that, what are the dates here again?
So we got the dates here coming up in the Wednesday, July 7th. That's going to be in Miami.
All right, that's like 8 weeks from now. That's
8 weeks from now,
and that's every Dynamite then. So those 3 weeks there. You have a week in between all these different shows, so it gives them enough time to test everybody and definitely run PCR testing and make sure no one's exposed or anything like that. So how does WWE get on the road before them and try and do shows? Is it something that's been talked about? You know, we had reports last week of WWE talking about this, but here's what we get this week from WrestlingInc.com by way of PWI Insider. They're reporting on dates for the upcoming summer pay-per-views that WWE runs. These will air on Peacock in the United States, WWE Network internationally. May 16th, WrestleMania Backlash coming up. It'll be at the Yuengling Center for Thunderdome. June 20th, Money in the Bank will be at the Yuengling Center in Tampa, once again in the Thunderdome setup. And July 18th, Extreme Rules at the Yuengling Center in Tampa. August 22nd has no location determined for SummerSlam. So we at least have a date here being reported for SummerSlam. We had no date. There's a possibility of it being pushed back. There are some contending cities that we've been hearing about with SummerSlam.
Boston.
One of them, Boston, Massachusetts. We had SummerSlam booked with that Vinny McMahon, and now he's talking about bringing over for the Snowbirds out there in Phoenix, Arizona. But yes, Phoenix, Arizona potentially is being talked about, and Texas. So where these restrictions are loose is where wrestling seems to want to go. And because the looser it is, the more people you can get. So it's definitely an interesting thing here. Sean Smith texting and saying AEW goes to Texas. Whoa! Will they be ripping off World Class? Are they going to be running the Sportatorium? I don't know if they're going to be running the Sportatorium. I don't know if the Von Erichs are going to be there. I guarantee there's a Von Erich reference. If they run,
it has to
in
be.
Dallas, they got to say something about the Von Erichs here. But what do you think of WWE's counter here? If this is fulfilled, I mean, I don't think there's anything from keeping them from saying, "Hey, Extreme Rules, we can run that in an arena. We're going to do it." But WWE they were pretty cautious. They didn't do the same setup that you saw AEW do in Daly's place. Now they have Capitol Wrestling Center, which for months now has had a very limited amount of fans, but fans that are recruited, that are told you have to come in a certain way, or you have to be tested within a certain time frame. So you have that going on here, or vaccinated. And you're going to have that too. Now, is AEW telling fans you got to be vaccinated when you come here? I don't believe so. And I don't believe they legally can. Now, if it was a private audience and a private crowd, any of these groups can do that. Yeah. There's game shows that are doing that now. So you have different stuff like that. I don't know. What do you think? Does WWE get back on the road before AEW? I'm on the side where I don't think they're going to need to.
Not especially if they already have all the dates down for Yuengling Center, booked all the way until the end of July, but that's just me being, crazy fanatic and thinking outside of the box just for them to do that spite. But, with the dates already, set in stone at Yuengling Center, they're not going to want to back out at the last moment just to return to touring.
I agree. Continue to sound off. If you're watching on demand, go ahead and continue to follow us on Facebook Watch, on YouTube, on Twitter, on all the apps that work for you. Just launching now on Spotify as well. Get our interview with Drew McIntyre. And we'll have a whole bunch more dropping soon with Jim Ross, Conrad Thompson. We have a ton in the archives. Go check out the video channel. Great stuff coming out later tonight with Vince Russo, Legion of Raw. Right after Running It Raw signs off, make sure your notifications are on so you can join Vince Broso.
Vince Russo.
Oh, yeah.
Vince Russo.
Bro, I love the bro counter.
The bro counter is the best.
Bro. So it's gonna be really fun. Definitely give him a follow. At Jose_G_official. Give me a follow at Kev Kellam. And of course, follow Sportskeeda. Remember, when watching wrestling, do the most important thing, which is what, Jose?
Enjoy wrestling.